Welcome back Rusty. How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm tired, Nick. I'm
You're
very
tired, boy.
excited to catch up with what happened in the OPL if you feel like filling me in, but I did get to see the last game for what it's worth, so we can still talk about that.
The TLDR, Mammoth got totally spanked by Legacy. I got completely spanked by Spawn. We had a pretty good segment of the LCK, and then you turned up. Yeah, well, like when you said that
Oh, you're
Hingis was
me
the
now.
best host of the OPL. Can I just say before we get into the analysis of that game and everything else, I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and see my kids, just sort of make myself feel better after what happened last segment. And I go up there, they're having a bath. I walk in and we're going to the zoo tomorrow, and I say to my son, I'm like, we're going to the zoo tomorrow. And he goes, I know. I was like, I'm so excited. Me too. What animal are you excited about seeing? And he goes, the giraffes. And I go, oh, I love giraffes. And he goes, me too. But I only like mama giraffes, not dada giraffes.
Ooh.
And then he just stares at me. And I'm like, and I just back out of the room. And I'm like, I'm just getting it from everywhere tonight. So if anyone in chat has a safe place for me to stay, just DM me your address. All right, Direwolves. You just can't count on them, Rusty.
No, so Direwolves, what a weird change of splits it is when you want to remember the fact that they were in the finals in split one. They're currently sitting at 9-9 in the standings in 5th place, and if AV win the next game, they're one game away from them, Nick. It is getting pretty scary, and if memory serves, they hold the head-to-head 2-1 over Direwolves.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're ever tied on the standings, AV are in.
I didn't know that. That's hella interesting.
Yeah.
And you would have to say the next one for Avant. And Nick,
It's a
I don't
win.
want to jinx your boys, but that's a gimme. Like
I know.
that's
I'm very excited.
that's the freebie, surely.
Look, I mean, it's never been a better time to be an AV fan. Yeah, so Direwolves, obviously, like that. This has put them in a bit of a scary position. Again, PGGs just seem to be like that team where you go, I mean, it's a bit of the order thing where they're just quiet, they're just getting the job done. They've had some ups and downs, but they are climbing that table. So congratulations there, PGG, for that win. Someone else is winning as well, and that is at least one, but probably 4 to 5 people in Twitch chat. Thanks to Neosurf, you will be winning yourself a place in the OPL opening titles. All you need to do is send in a video of you joining our opening phone call opening titles. DM that to @OPL on Twitter. Follow Neosurf Esports on Twitter. The winner gets $500 worth of Neosurf voucher to spend on the League of Legends store, and the runners-up get $100 each of voucher credit. All thanks to Neosurf. My goodness. Thank you, Neosurf. Neosurf, thank you. Okay. Let's jump into the Nick bag.
Caw-caw.
Been a while since we had a bit of a proper Nick bag. Those LCKs have been blowing out, so we're back. We're back. It's time to dive deep into what the audience want to know. The audience, of course, who love us, who would never want to see anything terrible happen to us. The first question comes in from Stefan Van Heckram. Who would be the first to die in a team fight out of the 4 of you?
Spawn.
And I'm going to assume that they mean in real life, right?
Oh.
No, it's definitely still me. Like, I'm a frontliner, and the frontliner always goes down first. Like, if we
That's
win
true.
the team fight, I come out squeaky clean looking like a god. But if not, I've just run in and entered for the boys.
Because that's the thing, right? Spawn plays a lot of tanky champions, but he doesn't build them like they are. His Alistar is an AP champion.
Good.
So often when he does go for those engages, there are severe consequences, which is why I think it's just defaulted to Spawn no matter what.
And even in Valorant, I was looking last night. I played a game and I had 11 opening kills. Of
a
the
lot.
25 rounds in the game, 11 rounds I got opening kills. The next highest on the team was 7 in the whole map. So I am so aggressive when I play video games because the consequences aren't high enough. Maybe if there were stakes, I would play a lot more scared. But because there's just no stakes in video games for a 30-year-old dude, you just go in and you just fight.
That's true. And what about real life?
Probably still me because I go to the red room and I just dive in.
I actually think that that's true because I've been thinking about this ever since I asked the question. And I think that if Skimmy was here, it completely throws it off. And I don't know what happens. I feel like Skimmy dies, and the reason that he dies is that I kill him as some sort of sacrifice to appease whoever wants to fight us. But in this scenario, you definitely dive in 1st, Spawn. You are the, like, I'm just going to see red and go in. Rusty is, like, huge. Like, under that t-shirt, he's just solid metal. But he's very sweet and kind of a bit shy. So I feel like Rusty isn't the first person to engage this. Rusty's the secret weapon that we pull out when it's like, all right, we need this to end right now. And then Rusty's like, no, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. And I'm like, you get in there. You need to save me. And then I push you in. And I'm the wild card who either runs away or like just literally rips heads off bodies. Like it's 50-50 split. So I feel like it is still Spawn. And thank you for your sacrifice. All right, the next question comes in from Sam Allen. Good morning from the USA. I'm getting tired of eating the same thing. So what's a good Australian home-cooked meal I can make? I'm a poor college student, so let's not break the bank with ingredients. OPL greater than LCS.
Hell yeah. Someone please clip this and send it to Kobe. That's all I'm saying. Because this would do Kobe's head in. Mate, there is nothing more Australian than 2 things. If it's breakfast, you always have Vegemite on toast with a lot of butter. And then, if you want a meal to eat for breakfast, but that is good reheated, Bangers mash gravy. That's all I'm saying. Google it.
Yep. That was my answer as well. It was 100% like, because he wants it cheap and easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, bangers and mash is just the way. You can't mess it up. Like, if you mess it up, it's still edible.
Mm-hmm.
Is the shepherd's pie, do we consider that Australian?
Absolutely we do.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I agree, like the bangers mash, easy, done. The Vegemite and toast, I mean, the massive problem that we just see every person who's not from this country with Vegemite is you put it on like it's jam, and that's just wrong. The ratio needs to be like 90% butter and 10% Vegemite. And it needs to be 3 times as much butter as you would normally put it on a piece of toast, and then you put the Vegemite is like the crust on top of like a pie, and the pie is butter. But a shepherd's pie, it's a good meal, goes for a couple of days. It's vegetable and meat combined into one. You don't actually really need to make a pie, so you don't need to worry about pie crust. It's kind of, you can just put it in a tray and just put
mashed potato on top.
Mashed potato on top. So chat says, Marks 105, cold pizza is the way to go. It's very Australian. A Bunnings snag. I mean, a Bunnings snag is just the cheapest sausage you can find, and then when you make it, you have to donate like some more money to charity. So I don't know if that's what he's looking for. He's already broke. Bunnings sausage sizzle is the goat. Says Skimmy. Okay, Skimmy, mate. If you really have opinions, how about you come on the broadcast and give them? This American is gonna. It's just literally people are now just talking about Bunnings. Avocado on toast is. From Lothi is actually probably also the answer, because I don't think that's something that other countries eat.
Also, it's
Really?
avocados are quite cheap depending on where you are in America. Like if you're in LA, like avocados are very cheap. And the only thing that you have to do different for it to be an Australian avocado on toast is like you have to put pink Himalayan rock salt on it, because otherwise it's actually not an Australian meal. It's just a global meal that everyone eats.
That's true. And then you need to charge yourself $19.
Correct.
Okay, the final question. This nearly ties in very well. At StillSings0 says, what do I do with this half a kilo of beef mince that doesn't involve pasta, potatoes, or beans? What do you do with half a kilo of beef mince? And if you're not including pasta, potatoes, or beans, I mean, is there anything you can cook? Or do you want to eat this? Or are we using this half kilo of beef for literally anything?
So the way what I like is I like to make ramen. Even if you just have basic packet ramen, like just go get some like spicy noodles is what I'm pretty much saying, that's going to have some form of broth. Get your beef mince and mix like soy, mirin, and sake in like equal portions. It's like a really basic teriyaki sauce. Anyway, fry off your beef mince until it's really, really crispy. And then put that sauce in until it goes like super sticky. It burns very quickly, so make sure you keep an eye on it, because sticky to burn is like very quick. And then you just tip that over the top of your ramen. Because I know you're not going to get to all the stages of actually making ramen, so I'm making this easy for you. Like just have 2-minute noodles with beef mince over the top of it, but really crispy beef mince.
That's legit. Chat's just saying it just needs to be tacos, which is a really good shout on that one. Sloppy Joes, also good. Burgers naked burrito without beans.
Yep, all those
Burrito,
good things.
they're all good. Those. Yep, just
Makes
basically
it hella versatile.
every Mexican food. Just make that. But then if you weren't going to eat it, target practice. You could pull pranks like you're mortally injured in front of like your parents or something. They'll think that's hilarious. Like your guts just fell out. You know, that'd be a funny joke. All right, it's time for game number 3 in the OPL. It is AV versus Gravitas. My boys AV. We've had an up and down split, but we're making it count when it counts, and that is the back end of the split. Up against Gravitas. Nothing left to play for, Gravitas. I want to remind you about that. Nothing left to play for, so why even try? In fact, why even turn up? Let's just make this an easy win. It's basically just a surrender. We'll see what happens as AV take on Gravitas, who I'm not even sure are here, who are going to play, and it is all coming up after this short break with the Macca's Champ Select.
If they manage to get there, then he'll have some items, but he's staring down 2 extremely fed tanks with armor stacked really high already. Randuin, Stormmail, Righteous, Glory all going to be there. Gargoyle, Stoneplate for Ayla, and their tanks that are snowballed. Is this their last chance? Oh god.
We'll continue that point in a second, because that is them going now for the 1v3. They're going to teleport in the side as well, because they want to make sure that this man falls on down. We've seen him do crazy things before. They actually exhaust him after the feast is gone. He nearly got the solo kill there onto the Z. Out goes the Tempered Fate, prevents Rare having any kind of influence, so they now chain onto him. Exhaust goes out instantly, looking to try and turn things around. Redemption comes on down, pops them up. Back to the end stacks, and down go the members of Gravitas. They've paid the ultimate price. They've taken down the Titan of the top lane. They've angered the gods, as he now finds himself a triple kill and tells them why you should ban his Callista.
If you're the Direwolves, you have to posture on the bottom side of some of those rifts. If they get soul, it's over. However, at the same time, then they just get inside track on Baron, and you can see they actually started up. And this set is on such a big flank.
He is indeed. Hawkshot OP reveals it. There's the suplex. Well, actually, no, there's the face breaker to start things off with. The knockup comes on through. There's the Scion charging. The slam dunk onto 4. The haymaker onto 3. The damage from an Aphelios. Moonlight Vigil tears them apart. Happy lives. He walks away. He survives. My voice is broken. It's a flawless fight. They wipe the Direwolves because Chippy's once again has been dogged by the boys. He's left at his turret saying, where are my team, for the 2nd time in a row? And at 37 minutes in, forget the soul point, forget the Baron, go for the end, go for the inhibitor, and go for the GG screen. We're here, we're ready. You caught us sleeping, you caught us napping, you caught us chilling, but we're ready to go here, Rusty, mate. You're a certified big dog now. It's Avant taking on Gravitas, which both teams actually want a big dog performance. For Avant, most notably, yes, the run to still achieving playoffs is going to be tough, but there is still a chance.
Yeah, there definitely is, and with the Direwolves loss 1 game ago, Skim, it becomes all that easier for them as well. This is one of those games where if you were to set expectations, it should be an AV win until proven otherwise. And if that's the case, then they are within touching distance of the Direwolves. That's terrifying for a team like the Direwolves, who are definitely struggling with consistency of their own. So AV, best foot forward is what you expect to see in this one. And if we get anything less than their best, then it just may be their own fault they don't make playoffs.
Certainly maybe. Both of these teams coming to this one having taken on the likes of Chiefs and Legacy. Both actually pushed the teams the distance. Ultimately weren't able to close out with the victory. But those are some promising signs coming into this one if you're looking for that form check to say, do we have what it takes? Obviously for one team there is pressure insurmountable, but for Gravitas, they can look to ease themselves off a little bit, you'd say, and continue to explore these different concepts which we're seeing, which is the back and forth between, do we go for the likes of a Caitlyn hyper carry double support, Or do we ensure we pick as many assassins as possible and look to try and blow somebody up?
Yeah, they've actually kind of changed their strategy, in the way that they approached their games the last two. Very much so. They had like a Vayne Bard bot lane in one of their games, and then they've gone for this Assassin Echo Z, styles that we've spoken about. They've also gone for the Lulu. Last time we saw them, if memory serves, that they went for this Lulu Caitlyn combo. So you never really know what you're going to get with them until you see it come out in the draft, because they do seem to be throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, strategy-wise in draft at their opponents.
They certainly do, and Beats has said, enough with that. We're going to change things up here. It's not going to be a 5th consecutive game on the Bard for him today. Nope, he's going to go for the Nautilus. And if that is to be expected as a Kaiser bot lane, we got ourselves a bit of spice, a bit of action, aggro, and they're going to need it, knowing that they're going to be going into a Callista.
Yeah, waiting to see what that third pick will be here as well. You definitely would be pretty content taking tanks away from a Kai'Sa composition, just because she does prosper, with those plasma stacks around a lot of tanky champions. Things like the Ornn that you saw hovered there by AV wouldn't be massively surprising if Gravitas went for it. This Shen pick, and it may not be the biggest deal, right, but to me is actually a pretty big deterrent for something like a Sion. So I do think that actually does bottleneck Nobody a little bit more. He could consider the Sylas, if he's willing to play that champion and, basically be Shen 2.0. We'll have to see where they choose to go here, and if it's top lane that they choose to pick for, because you'd love to see a flex pick of some kind, and I think this might just be a top laner, but, could be.
Could be flexed, could be seen in a support role. We haven't seen that in a while, but definitely isn't out of those realms of possibilities. Now, Gravitas say, well, what is going to match you? We assume it's going to be a top lane Shen, so we're going to go for the Mordekaiser. So both that are very strong in their own right, both that can still serve a purpose even if they do fall behind, which was definitely the case for both Paprise and Nobody yesterday. So a strong champion that will still have utility regardless of game state.
The set being locked in is actually really good here for AV's point of view in this draft, because it is a flex with support. RP obviously popped with it. Whereas you look at the other side, and they are focusing junglers with their bans with no jungler picked themselves. And that to me is an indicator that they're going to try and ban matchups that are favorable for whatever they pick in fourth, which should be their jungler. Looking towards exactly what that will be. We've already mentioned the possibility of things that have crowd control for the Kai'Sa. You could change a little bit further. You've already got Engage in the comp. You've got the 4v4 potential threat there. So something that's a duelist or a skirmisher could be really valuable also. Something like an Olaf wouldn't be horrible. Now you've already got the Mordekaiser for your magic damage. Something that can deal with a Callista is probably the main game here. So this is actually another option, obviously, that can deal with Callista quite well. Ruins her auto attacks and makes her feel pretty bad.
Certainly does. Trundle is one that has a lot of fun in making sure that you aren't having any of that fun. We saw a response yesterday when they played the likes of a Callista. They ran it with the Rakan into the Chiefs. A ton of CC, a ton of mobility, and we'll actually have some little cute interactions with the likes of a Shen and the set as well. Now, this is a pick that Spawn was highlighting. He said that Lisa had been spamming this in solo queue. It was actually targeted and banned away in the first rotation, but it's been let through this time, and they get to see his antics as a Nunu.
You know what? I don't know if this is the Nunu game. Just throwing that one out there. You want to take a guess at why, Skibby?
Well, I look at the Mordekaiser and you go, no. I look at the pillar and I go, no.
Yeah, that's the one. Got it. Imagine being Nunu. You're just rolling down, looking for a gank. Trundle's like, uh-oh, he's coming. Just presses pillar. That's it. you literally run into the pillar. Like, that's the whole move. So, I mean, Nunu, if it's something Lisa's prepared and practiced, may work well. We'll see what antics he goes up to, first of all, by having the Q smite, having a safe clear, freedom to engage or invade, most importantly as well, something that Nunu does provide. There is strengths to the champion. I do think that he'll have a decently difficult time here, though, particularly once Human hits 6 and Puma hits 6. He's not going to be able to snowball engage too well. The one thing Nunu does do well, though, Skibby, is he picks a target, and at level 2, he goes there. This is something that Order did, and I'm sure Spawn remembers this one fondly, because Spooks was just never ending. He was a nuisance. He would pick a victim, and he would gank them 17 times in the first 8 levels of the game, and they would be behind. And because you're still a Nunu, you're fine. You'll catch up. You're still a Nunu.
Yeah, you're going to literally quote-unquote snowball. I mean, terrible joke, but it's the reality really, isn't it, at the end of the day? Seaman going to showcase what he can do on the Kassadin. He's tended to stick to the likes of the true assassins, the likes of Akali's, Zeds, Echoes. But no, today, going to showcase that he can also battle with the best, and why not? We have these differences of ideologies, be it, okay, sometimes you want to play for early games, sometimes you want to try and achieve so much in those first 20, 25 minutes, but we all know what Kassadin is all about. If they can hit that late game scaling point where it is level 16, they've got themselves a good chance. And as you've already highlighted, there are a few tools like the Trundle and this very strong bot lane to ensure that Avant don't steamroll too far ahead.
Yeah, so the other thing that AV do have going for them here is it's the set Ori combo in essence as well. Having the Kalista to set up someone for engage here as well with that set is going to be super valuable for AV skirmishing and 4v4 strengths, and then of course having the ability of Paprise to be able to join the mix in multiple ways, and usually running that split push type of build we saw from Biopanther last time as well. It's very good and easy for AV to just like flick the switch, right? And suddenly they're skirmishing, it's all in, and there's nothing you can do if you're not prepared to deal with them. That's one big thing that we'll probably be watching from AV here is their snap decisions for those skirmishers. And Gravitas have done a curious thing here in the response, Skimmy, is they've gone for the Hail of Blades Kai'Sa with the exhaust of their own.
We've seen this a few times on AD carries where they've taken the exhaust just for the ability to say, if anybody jumps on top of me, I'm going to be very well protected. And there's not going to be any lack of tanks that the set can look to use that showstopper on for that increased damage and AoE explosion. And it'll be looking to be the melee version of a Kassadin, no doubt. But going to be interesting to track how Puma utilised that one because Gunkrab has matched it. So it is going to be all about hailing down the damage from afar as we get into our third game of the day here on Week 9, as Avant Gaming, trailing only 2 games behind, but holding their head-to-head against Direwolves, are looking to sneak themselves into that 5th and final playoff spot. Whereas for Gravitas, they want to be the ones that get to upset the party.
All right, the one thing that I'm going to give this Nunu, because we've already discussed the jungle matchup and how it can make the game extremely difficult, is not the 2v2s, but he does have lanes that he can gank for, right? You know, Set's one of those people that goes for the Hex Flash, so I'd be pretty happy to constantly look for those engages. If you're going top lane, you do still have setup from the Shen, and Mordekaiser has no mobility, and the Kassadin Pre-6, like we've already spoken about. Not a lot of dashes or ways to get out safely if he's ever overextended, but he doesn't have the same setup, you know, with an Orianna. So I think there's options here for Lisa, at least in the early stages of this game, to try and snowball some lanes. And my suspicion is that is the most important part of this game for AV, is snowballing those lanes out, not getting himself fed as a Nunu, because he is kind of comped at a certain point.
No doubt, otherwise we'll get to hear you throwing out objectives like he'll become a paper mache target again, no doubt, when the subjugate comes on through. Very, very relevant there, so I think that's a good point to highlight.
Much more relevant because he's got the papercraft skin as well.
There you have it. So I think, you know, we're just busting out all the puns, the dad jokes and everything to get this game underway. You know, it's been a long day for yourself. You're a qualified, certified big dog, and you're going to showcase what you can do in this one here today, as we're going to get to see.
I like this so much more than PT, Skibby.
Look, mate,
I'm a certified big dog.
It sounds far better on your resume than PT, mate. That's what I'll pull it down to. But I'm curious. I am very curious to see exactly where Lisa goes on this map. If he can be gracious enough to not have to steal away those killing blows. If he can get the likes of Chasnat ahead, be it Gungrab 2. If they can try and keep down this Kassadin for as long as possible.
Kassadin does get pretty hard harassed by Orianna if she's able to control the wave. Ori's auto attacks are magic damage in a sense as well. So Kassadin's Q comes invaluable, and I wouldn't have been surprised. He hasn't done this for what it's worth, as you can see in the bottom left. But I wouldn't have been surprised if he did 3 points in his Q before going towards an Emax, which can be a thing for Kassadin. Just because Ori does have so much magic damage in her kit, and she's got ranged auto attacks that have that, with Aerie of course as well. Interesting that he hasn't gone for that, I think it is worth highlighting there, Skibby. He's much more about getting that extra damage from the Force Pulse that can come across from Ori's constant spell usage than by sustaining himself.
Interesting to see what that actually means in the grand scheme of things. We'll keep tabs on that in the next 5 minutes as to how that lane state looks. But one thing worth noting that you would have just seen is how they've gone from scuttle to scuttle, making sure Lisa gets as far ahead as possible. And a lot of that comes down to, one, lane priority favouring Avant, but the fact that Appy actually went there to protect him.
Yeah, I don't think it's super surprising that the game starts with lane priority for AV. You are looking at some potential on Gravitas' side to turn things around in maybe a good top lane trade, but bot lane in particular, if you've got Praylist nearby, you could throw a hook out and start to snowball. But generally, I think if things go as expected in their 2v2s, AV's comp is actually quite good and has a decent amount of just innate lane control from their matchups. This does, again, start to become a little bit different once we hit our ultimates, hit our level 6, and kill threat can come up for pretty much every lane, actually, including mid and top lane. But until such a point, AV should be in control. You'd expect to see a slight advantage, you would think, grow. In saying that, not really seeing it in the way of CS.
Not at the stage. We are seeing a very small lead be achieved here by nobody. Peprise is definitely giving him a run for his money, so he's keeping him at bay for the meantime. Once again, running that, I want to call it the zombie skin. It looks just so so in your face, so neon focused.
Yes, the green chrome on the Infernal skin. It's actually pretty badass.
It is pretty badass. Fire Panther ran it last night. Obviously showcased that he meant business.
Flash torn. Didn't want to go for that one. It still has incredible lane control, right? So you already highlighted this. Nobody's farm has been pretty good. But he's had the wave frozen on him, and frozen on him by someone who still has teleport and flash available. So he's going to have to go back to base. Yeah, he's going to have to teleport into this one. Maybe even take a trade for this wave to be pushed in.
There it is. Instantly goes for the ultimate right now. Just a little bit out of turret range. So still can go for the biff. Now looking to try and land those skill shots. Paprise tried to flash over the mace. It isn't enough. The wave will be broken. The kill will be achieved. And the first blood will be found at 6 minutes by Gravitas.
And the thing is, that could have been really good for Paprise. If he survived the Mordekaiser ultimate and had the teleport to come back to this wave and it was just a trade, you'd be really happy with that one. But he's copped the Q, flashed and still took the damage, and now has just died with the summoner spells gone. The Nunu has to come and make the difference.
Here comes Nunu, looking for the snowball. That'll force a flash response. Now it's a 1v2. Remember, there is no flash. There is no Death Realm. Nobody is in trouble this time. We will ensure there's top laner picks up the response.
Yeah, Pap's back. He gets to kill himself as well. So the fact that nobody has no teleport, the wave could be pushed in if Paprise wanted. The fact that he's holding that, to me, means it may well still be a freeze. And everything kind of going pretty stable elsewhere on the map. But that was really the first time we've seen junglers get into lanes for something meaningful. We've already seen Lisa get the Drake here, Skimmy, but now he gets a kill as well. And I haven't seen Praylist do a thing just yet.
Certainly hasn't. He's been very much looking to try and catch up, but how hard is it to catch up to a Nunu based on the fact he got Consume and Smite? All the mobility to run back to lane. And the ability to out-tempo your jungler. As you can see right there, 53 to 40. He's up in levels. He's got level 6. Where will the absolute zero be used as we look to see what happens in mid lane? But so far it's Seomin showcasing that Max and Yuri can actually net yourself some benefits. There's a fair bit of damage, and there's a shockwave to guarantee the snowball hits. There's the taunt, there's the kill. Chaz finds one, but now it's an all-out blast as he flashes across the bridge. He ensures that Absoluro finds a fair bit of damage, but much like the name, it does absolutely zero, but it doesn't change the outcome. Appy finds one, he takes out nobody.
Nice combo there from AV, though, to use the fact that Orianna was out of position and that Gravitas were looking for that gank. They turn it around instantly. And we're seeing some serious damage come out of Paprise now as well with that Shen getting into the mix. So fantastic work here from AV, continuing to net themselves some further advantages. Still no Trundle to really be seen actively around on the Rift just yet. I believe he was at the enemy red buff during that time and got there very late. AV continue to surge ahead.
Certainly do, and Gorencrab's going to be very happy with the state of things right now. The Herald is being picked up, and these turret plates will be achieved as well, which will look to then try and achieve a bit of a gold lead. They can net themselves a small advantage. As Puma has gone for the Cull, and has opted to sit in the bot lane.
If Paprise keeps his... Yeah, there's going to be 3 people down here. Paprise is in a whole lot of trouble.
He's in a ton of trouble, doesn't have an ultimate, doesn't have a flash, doesn't have any really exit plan. He's got a 3-man taunt, but especially when a 4th man shows up to the party, there is nowhere to run or hide. He'll fall down for the 2nd time this game.
And very well played from Beats in particular. So Shen uses that W, which stops auto attacks from going out. Nautilus auto attack obviously is a stun, but Shen's escape tool is a taunt. And if you taunt the Nautilus, he is just going to auto attack and stun you. So the fact that he holds that one is actually invaluable. for making sure that no matter what, there's no risks, they will get the kill. They will still, however, lose top side of the map. That's first turret. That's a 2,000 gold lead still going the way of AV, all things considered here, Skibby, but they finally get something back.
Certainly do, and we're going to see that in the way of some rather necessary item spikes that can look to let themselves a bit of strength going into the second Dragon of the game. Will be an Ocean 1 up in 45 seconds. Got themselves now the Cutlass on Callista. And the two major minor items there for Chaz to sustain the push and harass to keep the Kassadin locked underneath this turret.
We did see some aggression from Suman, but of course because that aggression was quelled, it does delay his laning confidence, let's say, as well as his individual spikes in that 1v1 just a little bit more. Orianna going to go for the tier build here as well, which is your prototypical assassin build. And that does, of course, make things even more difficult for Suman once that is built. Waiting for this Drake to spawn. Hard pressed to see a way that Gravitas can really commit themselves to this one if Paprise has the ultimate, which he does. And AV, they have the choice of just slowing down if they would like. Continue laning phase. That Mordekaiser with no teleport either walks down or they get the free objective.
And you'd have to say, Rusty, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll almost be criminal for Avant to ever lose a Smite fight based on the fact you got Consume, Smite, and the Ren stacks that a Callista can put into an objective. Makes it very easy.
I mean, it's funny you say that because at the same time, that's a lot of instant damage, isn't it? So they may not actually be able to time everything perfectly when there's that much. You would usually just, defer responsibility to someone like Lisa then if you were Gun Crab. Because there's been countless times, even when coaching, you're sitting there and you scrims and the team's like 1500 HP with Smite. And their calculations are just way off. Because Callista's Rens, you're not actually sure exactly how much that does. So they do need to be a little bit careful.
Definitely a window in which Gravitas could look to try and exploit if the opportunity ever presents itself. But as it stands for the meantime, it's all about making sure that these AP carries can scale up. And there are a few of them on this one, with the Kassadin, Mordekaiser in his own right, and depending on what route Puma wants to go here for this Kaiser, AD, attack speed, or AP as well, can look to try and be a nuisance to match their harassment.
AD, right? If he doesn't go AD, he's kind of trolling, though. You'd be shocked if he doesn't go AD. Anyway, he's going to go for the Mudamine build, so that into the Gwynzoos. He'll have enough AD regardless. I'd actually, on that note though, I wouldn't be upset to see the crit build come out of him. Something with the Hurricane, perhaps the Runar's in there.
Sure.
Wouldn't go astray in my mind.
To add extra plasma stacks around to make key targets fall down quickly, or?
Yeah, I just think, having the crit build in general is a really nice scaling AD option. Lisa might be up quick without a paddle.
But he was. Inside the Death Realm, apparently he can still use Summoners as he flashes around that shrub, and he's quite content. No, that's the second wall, and that's the second flash. As Avant realised, maybe they've bitten off a bit more than they can chew.
Oh, that was a... okay. Paprise goes in and gets himself a red buff. As Nunu flashes away. And they just kind of exit stage right. They'll take that. What a trade. Shen getting a red buff's pretty big into the Mordekaiser matchup here as well. It is worth pointing out that the health regeneration that red buff gives the tank is huge.
Certainly is. Here's the absolute zero wombo combo, two-man taunt, flash, chomp, delete. Praelis finds one. His first big interaction in this game. But is the subjugate tankiness enough as he can run himself out to harm's way? He survives. The boys are there to protect him, but here comes Appy, the Smurf. Set got himself, collapsed them together, and suplexes them down. There's one. Orianna finds the second. Shockwave used to good effect. It's not even there. Apparently, he just uses his regular combo, but nonetheless finds himself a double kill. And the action continues as Praelis finally falls on down as Appy went for some marathon running.
Yeah, Appy comes in and just absolutely smacks them all up. If there's one thing that we can note in the OPL right now, it is that there are some nut-set support players that we have, and Appy is no exception to that rule. Chaz with a fantastic teleport, even though he didn't have the shockwave. If that was available, even better for AV at the end of the day. And a couple turret plates in mid, some extra kills in their pockets as well. Remember, Gravitas were on their side of the jungle, so it's a good punish from the overextension of Gravitas. That's something that they'll definitely regret, but they still did it well.
Certainly did do it well, and now they've got a lot of gold in all the right places. We say that ironically because Appy last time he was this fed He was the one that sort of made me hit puberty all again, where my voice just went all out of sync, and he made those insane plays, which you saw coming into this matchup as one of the plays of last week. So we'll get to see what he can do again. No doubt GunCrab says, please, bro, just give me a kill, just anything to ensure that I get a little bit further ahead than this Kaiser I'm matching up into.
Yeah, he's surprisingly high carry potential. And I mean, in general, Set, when he is fed, is a right nuisance to deal with because of how tanky and his sticking power can become as well with the items that he completes. Nevertheless, we're going to go for the Rift Herald here. Lisa, once again, pretty much impossible to smite steal from. Not to say that Gravitas are trying, but there's also no trade for them elsewhere at all.
Certainly isn't at this stage. Once again, 45 seconds seems to be the magical number as that third dragon will be spawning, and we will be playing for a Mountain Soul. Fair few benefactors of that one, but I'm sure Gravitas are not too happy about that one. For all the mitigation and combat stats that will fall to prevent the likes of them one-shotting a key component once they can get to those magical item and level spikes. Level 10 here for the Kassadin. Still a world away, but they are posturing quite aggressively here, Rusty, to contest.
In this particular game, I don't think it's too surprising that Gravitas aren't going super hard on the contest for Drakes. They are a scaling composition, as Beats might be owned here.
He tried to hook himself to safety, but nope, denied by the support set. As he face breakers him straight back to where he came from, and our prayers have been answered. GunCrab will get himself his first kill of the game, and that numbers advantage means they can get the third dragon as well.
I'll be honest with you, that was not Gravitas' turret anymore. They had no right even looking to defend that one. So Chaz punishes accordingly with a good shockwave, and AV makes sure they get the support of Gravitas removed. Turret goes down. Drake now here, and we're going to have a 21-odd minute. What are you doing? Just waiting for his Q cooldown, I suppose. Didn't have smite for 4 seconds, so fair enough. Yeah, we're going to have a 21-minute Drake here. Drake solid.
We certainly are. I mean, what a better way to really bring it in terms of pressure and tempo to a team that want to play scaling. They're going to now be the first team at the 16-minute mark to hit the first 3 towers as well. And when the dust settles, that means they're up by 4k gold. Well, that's Prayless.
What's over there?
He went fishing. He didn't find anything he was afterwards. Maybe a soggy boot, but that's not what he's after at the end of the day. He wants the big fish prize, and that will be found in the bottom lane as a double kill was there, and the game over from GunCrab as they can look for a second turret in the bot lane.
Yeah, it's an auto reload as well because they just casually aced them. AV just could have pushed with their Herald. That may even well be... death times are pretty low. That's most likely going to be at least the inhibitor turret. But okay. Crikey, that was AV just turning on. But I'm really not sure if that was the time and place for Gravitas to take that one. But they did.
And
that's what matters.
Yeah, well, that is what matters. It doesn't feel as if this Nunu pick has been as punished as the enemy draft would, predict.
I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't really seen Prayless on the same screen as Lisa by any means. Which, if that is the intent of Lisa, then he has played exceptionally positionally.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands, a lot of this game has come down to the Shen ultimate just being huge and providing a shield for someone that Gravitas were initially looking to pick, turning the tides of any kind of skirmishes that the Gravitas were trying to put down, really slowed them down a lot. So while AV were making plays, they were doing it in 2 places at once as they were proactive and reactive properly.
And what is rather proactive about their builds is the fact that Kalista has now picked up the Wit's End for the extra attack speed movement. And an MR, as Pat Bryce has completed the Titanic Hydra and is also working for that second item as well. And we saw how strong it was yesterday when Shang was played by Biopanther. The ability to go for those 1v1s but have some very, very strong side split push pressure.
Kassadin is 4 levels away from being what is known as a Kassadin, but I think at this point, looking at the items that these respective mid laners have as well, I would rather have the Orianna on my team at 16 than a Kassadin at 16. Chaz is a monster. That much is for certain, and they really are putting their foot down here, Skimmy, and saying that we're deserving of a playoffs position ourselves with how this game has been played out. Fantastic skirmishing, good team fighting. Defending their own jungle when it should be defended as well. They're doing a lot of things right here, and I mean, I'm not Direwolves, but I might be sweating a little.
I would be too, because I mean, if we take this game and then say, what are their next 3 games to look forward to in Super Week? They've got Order, Legacy, and Pentanet.gg to go into. It's going to be a tough run to those finals, and much like the brutal fight that took place in top lane, they run it back in the bottom lane. This time the flash actually works. A disgusting shockwave. Chaz smurfing it up, locks them all in place. Human flashes, and he fails, but he manages to disengage, but it's too little too late. Kaiser and Kalista doing what they can, but Gunkrab comes out on top.
Yeah, just way too strong here from AV. I mean, it's at 9,000, about to be 10k gold difference 19 minutes into this one. AV are well and truly snowballed. Their composition is online right now, and the punish is fantastic. Ways back into this game for Gravitas are pretty much non-existent at this point. And even with this inhibitor going down, they can disengage, they can reset AV, and they can just plant their feet down at a Mountain Soul that they'll be able to take here as well when all is said and done.
When all is said and done, they will look to try and disengage, but will Gravitas give them that kind of opportunity? You can see them flashing on forward, now committing teleports, now looking for those key targets. There is no death throw, bear in mind, so this is nobody literally running in raw, but he takes him down regardless. He picks himself up a shutdown, and that could go a very long way to ensuring that this Mordekaiser continues to be a threat. But no, maybe, just maybe, that wasn't the right play as they go forward. One too many steps, and as you praise him, he does eventually fall on down.
Yeah, unfortunately that didn't go a long way. Went a very short distance when you're looking at that advantage they found with a single pick. Immediately traded back. Beats now finds himself 1-4 on this Nautilus. And there is no vision control set up for Gravitas whatsoever around that Mountain Drake Soul that AV are going to pick up pretty much free whenever they would like. But why would you do that when you can just push a bot lane inhibitor for free and get even more for yourself?
They're extracting every possible bit of value that they can find right here. Yes, that bottom inhibitor will survive for the meantime, but drop down to 50%, so it's a big area of the map now that is rather vulnerable and can be abused. But the disengage will be there towards that Mountain Soul, and at 21 minutes on the clock, that's a very early soul to pick on up. Now, is Chaz in trouble? 5-0-7, the perfect KDA, the Seraph has to be used. And that might just be enough to ensure he doesn't fall on down.
Yeah, puts all of his focus on disengaging. There was a world where Chaz looked at that trade and said, I can one-hit you. And I think that might have been possible. And to me, I was surprised he didn't go for it, but was actually very focused on not giving away a 650 gold shutdown, which is super commendable for the mid laner here of AV. Pumi doesn't get the kill. They don't get any extra gold towards him. He's going to be able to fight another day here, Chaz. And they're going to do all of this with the Mountain Soul that was secured in the meantime. And maybe even just the Baron now.
Very tanky is this Kalista. 70 armor, 133 magic resist, having now picked up the Hex Drinker as well. Really, really careful not to get one shot by what Gravitas can throw their way. But there's the Baron buff, and that is now Chaz acting defense. A two-man shockwave. Out goes the Death Realm, but only spells death for the one that cast it himself as 2 fall on down, and the snowball comes barreling down mid. And there's the pillar interaction. You wanted to see it, and there it is. A TP into the backline as those super minions crash on through mid. And I think at the 22-minute mark here, Rusty, Avant can look for the end.
Yeah, we saw the interaction about 22 minutes and 20 seconds too late there, unfortunately. Skimmy not going to make a single bit of difference to the outcome of this game as AV just run down Gravitas, never in doubt, and just pick them apart and put themselves one game closer to Direwolf.
One game closer to Direwolves. The run is still on. The chance for playoffs. The dream is alive. And they're showcasing that. Don't write us off just yet. It is a very tough run to get there. But if we can continue to put up performances like this, it may just be possible.
That's it, right? Fantastic game from them overall. Very quick victory for them here as well. AV in a commanding position. And that's even with what I would say is some interesting drafting from them in general, picking the Nunu into the Trundle. Like, the fact they win in 23 minutes and things could have been better, in air quotes, is amazing for AV.
Certainly is, and no doubt they'll be now watching this next game with eagle eyes, because to round out week number 9, our final game as we return from the break will be Order taking on the Chiefs.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it! If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
Go!